Good. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today on this cold day. Hopefully you are ready for the snow to come and your back is feeling strong, and this will do our groundwater situation good, and we'll just leave it at that. I'm not a fan of snow. I brought the tropical for us all to feel our warm fuzzy thoughts while we're on the screen together today. So hey, while we are getting started, we have a special recognition I want to just throw out there. It is Jeff Yost's 25th anniversary with Nebraska Community Foundation today. So Jeff, hooray for you. Thanks for your vision and all of the hard work you've put into our organization and into Nebraska. Good grief, the legacy that you've left already, and you're just getting started. So
thank you, Kara. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I want you to put in the chat.
All right. It's not working.
Uh-oh.
Is there? I wonder.
There we go. So what I want you to put in the chat, introduce yourself, where you're at today, and a fond memory that you have from your youth. I know from my youth, I remember I grew up on 8th Street in Hastings, and I remember all of the kids playing kick the can in the middle of the street until the street lights came on, and we rode down the block to swim in the swimming pool at the city park down the street. So I love to hear all of the happy things that you guys have to say, and just start thinking about what it's like to be a kid again. And I'm going to go ahead and share some things here about our youth survey. I'll put share screen. All right. Hopefully we can all see my PowerPoint. So what we want to do today when we're talking about youth surveys, we really do want to say this is our opportunity to use this information for the betterment of Nebraska, for the betterment of your community, for the connection of those youth in your community. So it really does go along with our philosophy of inspiring and unleashing and connecting. And I don't know why it's not advancing. There we go. All right, so we asked the students, what do you value most in an ideal community? And far and above, safety from violence and theft was the #1 response. No big surprise there, but it is quite a long ways ahead of the other things. Thankfully, we can say that's something that we can offer in Nebraska. We also hear good schools and proximity to family quite often. And then this year, feeling included came up quite a ways. Another unusual thing, diversity is becoming more and more of a recognizable thing. I think feeling included and diverse cultural experiences kind of go hand in hand, but diverse cultural experiences this year leapfrogged over entertainment and parks. So thought I'd point that out, that that's all part of feeling like you belong to the big family of your community. And we asked the students, if you were going to live in this area as an adult, what do you think the main reason would be? And of course, it's always a good place to raise a family, and family ties that come out ahead. The job and business opportunity is next. But if they were going to leave, the one thing that's going to pull them away is a career. So it's really, really vitally important for us to be able to connect students to the careers that they want in their place. And we'll talk about that more as we move forward with this. So then we asked them, are you feeling like you belong in your community? How often do you do volunteer work? And they say, multiple times a month, about once a month, or a few times a year. 24% said I almost never. do anything. And so that is room for growth. We definitely have some more connecting with our youth that we should be doing, but they do feel like they're invited to share their opinion 65% of the time. I feel connected to the place I live in now, 76%. I feel like that's a fairly decent number. And then I play a role in this community that we can interpret in a few different ways. First of all, we want them to know they play a role. We want to be very clear that we respect their voice, we respect their opinion, and we want them to be involved in building their community and being involved in projects and decision making, but they don't feel like that's their role. So it's our job to connect them to those opportunities. We ask them if you feel like they would like to see more organizations to be a part of. And we did have enough diversity in our group this year that we were able to pull out that the white students saying, yeah, I probably have enough going on, but the students of color are lots more likely to say, hey, yeah, I could use a few more opportunities to connect and to get involved with my community. So that is definitely something that we want to look at and keep in mind. This slide, I apologize, is the ugliest slide in the universe, but it is really important for us to show, because this first column right here, this is what our students' career interests are. And then this column over here is their perception of what careers are available in their area. And I highlighted where there's some disconnects. And especially in the medicine, nursing, healthcare, and biotech, our students don't feel like the opportunities that they want to pursue for a career match the opportunities available in their hometowns. And as we will learn from Thayer County, that's not necessarily the case. There's plenty of opportunity, and even more so, like our hospital here in Columbus does a job shadow program. And when they show these kids what that career interest that they think they have looks like for real, they say, maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe this other thing that you showed me is what I want to do too. And that is really important for us to maintain the students living in our communities after they graduate. So wanted to point out that there is a big discrepancy and some work to do here. What do they want? They want more diversity and inclusion for people and new ideas. They want everyone to have a chance to participate. They want new ideas and new generations. They want more involvement in the community decisions. And a lot, I hear better communication. They don't know what's going on. They just want to say, tell me how to get involved. I'll be there. As you're becoming an adult, how likely are you to live in the area you live in now? Well, we see a lot of consistency here. They're very likely to stay here, and that's great news. So not much change there. So from an asset-based community development point, if we were going to step back and take this information to our communities and say, how do we use this data? Thanks for that information. Now, what do we do with it? Let's think about it from an ABCD perspective, where we're looking at the assets we have available. Are we inviting people to co-create with us? Are we making incremental changes, or are we expecting big change to happen with just this survey information? It's community-led, community-owned, building the relationships before we need them. And that the community-based affiliated funds really do have a very important pivotal part in making this happen for their communities. So let's talk now about how we can make our resources visible, and that we can help connect our communities with this information and make it better. So I think, what have we got in our, am I missing anything in the chat other than the happy fun things that we all said?
Mainly all happy fun things, Kara. We're doing good.
Awesome, terrific, great. So today we brought Colby Gardine. He is from the Bertrand area, and they did a community youth survey last spring. And so I'd love to have Colby tell us a little bit about what the process was for queuing that up.
Sure. Kara, can you hear me okay?
We hear you just fine.
Okay. It was kind of cutting out earlier, so if it starts to cut out, let me know. Yeah, so I guess the process itself for us was pretty simple. I think Denise had kind of showed us some different communities that had done a youth survey in the past, and as a fund, we thought it was pretty intriguing. So we looked into it a little bit more, and then as a group, we decided we wanted to kind of vote on it and vote on, approving the funds to go into the youth survey. And I think everybody in our group was on board, and we kind of moved forward with it. The next process was just getting the survey out and talking with the school. We wanted to talk with the administrators, make sure they were on board with it, because we facilitated it within the school. And everybody there was all for it, so that was encouraging. And then when we actually went forward with doing the survey, that was really simple too. It was conducted by the University of Omaha, and they sent an access code for the school, and went through the survey. The results all went back to Omaha, and I think they compiled them. I guess you could expand on that, Kara, but that information was all compiled, and we got a final report back with all the survey results. I think we could have went through and actually given some questions that we wanted to give input for, but I don't think we added any to it. I think we were content with the questions that they had come up with. So, that was, I guess, the process of getting it done. Anything you want me to add to that?
No, I think that's awesome. I think just for clarity, a few people have been asking, okay, if we are interested in doing this, how do we do this as a fund? And so I'll just add a couple of points that if you just take a vote that yes, the fund is willing to pay $500, I need a copy of the minutes, and then we get a disbursement form telling us what account you want to take that out of. And then I give you your survey link, and you can go ahead and take that survey. I love it when you are the ones that communicate with the schools, because I feel like it's really important for the funds to have that working relationship with the schools rather than me. I mean, I love the opportunity to meet folks and to get to know them and build strong relationships too, but it really is going to behoove you in the long run to be the ones that have that relationship going forward. So I'll keep putting it back in your lap as we move forward to get those surveys queued up that, hey, can you check and see when we can do the facilitated group conversation? Hey, can you find out when they're going to have those surveys all completed so we can close the window and start compiling the results? So if it feels like I'm pushing a little bit, it's because I want you to build that relationship. So thanks, Colby, for clarifying that. Can you tell us a little bit more about then what happened next?
Yeah, so I guess once we got the results back, we definitely wanted to share that information. We were talking about the school administrators. I think those are the first people we shared the results with. We just went in and met with the principal and the superintendent, and kind of went through I think we emailed them the survey or gave them a hard copy of the survey to start with, and we went in and met with them and showed them the results. And I think they appreciated that. They took the time with the kids to look at it, and some of that information is pretty valuable to them as well. And then after that, we wanted to definitely share it with the kids, because the kids hold on. The kids took their time out of the day to go through it. So we I think this was at the end of the school year. So we scheduled or tried to schedule a time into the beginning of the 2022-23 school year to meet up with the students in an assembly. And we got them, eventually kind of got that all coordinated. It was about a month after school started this year. We went in and presented the results to the kids. We went through there and kind of got their reactions. Some of them looked surprised with some of the answers that all their peers had said, and some of them the answers they looked like they expected those results. So that was kind of fun, seeing their interaction. But so once we kind of went through that, then we wanted to do kind of a visioning session with them. We wanted to, expand on some of those questions. So we broke out into different groups based on their age and grade in school. And we started to go through and just ask them what kind of things that they wanted to see in Bertrand, what things would bring them back to Bertrand, what would they see, Bertrand being like in 10 years. And we did some sticky notes that went up on the wall, and everybody kind of compiled them and put them together. And Kara at this point had really helped us with this. Kara led this part of it.
Great. Thank you, Colby. So then what happened after that? Keep going.
So yeah, I just kind of went through it with the kids. We got some good results back. We got some a lot of information on paper that our fund, a couple of people in our fund kind of compiled together. So on top of our survey results, we had everything that we did from that visioning session. So from there, we wanted to share these results with the community as well. And we're still working on that. We haven't been able to do a lot, but we did have the Santa Claus come in town, and we had the survey going there. But we really want to let the community see what's going on and what the kids are thinking. But one thing that did come out of it, I think the kids have a better understanding of the Bertrand Area Community Fund, and what we do and how the process goes. So they did apply for a couple of grants with us that were approved. And so there's like a router type of device that went to the shop class, and then a camera system that went to the school as well. And they're already using it. The camera system's been used to make videos for us and for the school. And so that's been great as well.
I saw the thank you.
That's I think kind of where we're at.
Yeah, that we got a thank you video from the kids at school showing the equipment that they got with their grant, and it is just incredible. I mean, tears coming down. So great. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Colby, before we move on?
Yes, yeah, we have. No, I think that's it. Just, in recap, I think it was a very valuable survey for us. I know it costs a little bit of money, but I think we got good information from it. It kind of drove some different conversations with students, and is, I think, going to drive some things in the future. So me personally, I'm glad that we did it.
Fantastic. Thank you. So now we'll move on to Paige Hansen, who's from Deschler. Paige was the hometown intern actually in Deschler, and she helped, once they got their survey results, she helped spread this information throughout their county. So I'm going to pass it to Paige and let her tell the story about what's gone on in Thayer County.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is being a little sketchy today, so I'm going to keep my video off because I think that might help my connection a little bit. But yeah, as Kara said, I was the hometown intern for Deschler here in Thayer County for 2 summers. And Thayer County did a county-wide survey for their students. So we got a great little PowerPoint put together by NCF. And as part of my hometown intern responsibilities, I was in charge of putting together an event for our community in Deschler, where I just kind of went over the slides that NCF had put together and just kind of showing them, this is what our youth is thinking about, this is what they want, for them to want to come back here, and what interests them and things like that. And we got we had a really good turnout for the meeting. We had business owners and just parents and people, farmers from the community. Everyone really showed up, and it really showed us how much our community cares about our youth and how interested they are in like making our community a place that youth want to come back to when after college and stuff like that. And from that meeting, there were multiple things that kind of came out of it. We have an internship, or it's like more of like a mentorship program that the school kind of started. It's not super big yet, but kids have started to be able to go out and do like a work study with industries or people with a job that they might be interested in, and they can take school, like a class period out of school to do that. And that we really pushed for that as part of that meeting that night. So I'm really glad to see that come to be. Another thing that we used the survey results for was we used them as part of the Dream Switch production that we had in their county that year as well. We made a kind of like a collaborative mural made by the elementary students, and yeah, there it is. Perfect. The elementary students and the senior citizens at the nursing home and our assisted living in town. And one of our fund members, Christy Zucker, did the artwork on this, and she put the bigger picture together. And then we had it all cut up into little individual blocks, and each person colored a block. But then they all went together, and it made this really awesome picture, as you can see. And then we showed that at the Dream Switch, and the message was just kind of like, without each and every person, Deschler wouldn't be what it is. So that's something that we wanted to work on, and it was just a really awesome project. We have this mural, like this picture of this mural on postcards that we made, and we sent some to alumni, and we have some for sale in town here. And then little pieces of this mural we used to design new banners for like our downtown boulevard. Yeah. Perfect. Any questions?
So the banners, these show Ranky Manufacturing pivots on here. And I don't think you guys took the opportunity to visit with Ranky about how they might benefit from this or partner with you on this, which is fine as well. But, and as from, being outside and kind of looking in at this, I would think they'd be honored, first of all, that you showed their business, you showcased their business, but then this would be a tremendous recruiting tool for them. And so
they're a huge part of our town. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's so interesting. I'm going to stop share, sir. I think it would be a great opportunity then to go back and say, okay, how can we connect with the young people that have left the community or they're about to graduate? How do we maximize this beautiful banner situation? You've got all this public recognition. How can you help us, and how can we help you grow our community together? So, that would be something that I would suggest, that, we step back and say, what other relationships should we be bringing to the table? And do we have those relationships in place yet? So let me see if I have any other. Oh, Hebron had a big give that kind of came of that effort with the youth surveys too, as a lot of these things just were a result of those surveys having taken place, and then you using that data to really build the relationships and build the connection in the community, and moving forward to become a convener and just bringing everybody together in a really positive way. The whole county benefited just because you had this youth survey data. So yeah, do you have anything else you want to say about that?
I totally agree. And I think bringing the whole county into a lot of the stuff we did, like you mentioned, Hebron started the big give idea, and then they let everyone in the county put their funds onto it, or organizations. And I think it's really special that the communities in their county work together, because we're stronger together, obviously, and we've been able to do so many awesome things by working together.
That's great. I appreciate you sharing all the work that you've done and all the things that have come from this. And I was looking at the chat. Looks like Neil was kind of talking about how the schools and the community are not really good at interacting with each other. For example, in Columbus, we have we had a bond to build a new school, and it didn't pass. People were like, we don't need a new high school. But then when we really stepped back and said, hey, what do we really need? We need to retain our students into these careers that we have available. And we got the schools to communicate with the businesses and communicate with the chamber and communicate with all of the different moving parts in the community, so that they could see, as a school district, they were going to benefit from having this open communication with others in their community. And so when the school bond came up again, we had this huge STEM wing attached to it, where people were going to learn how to do automotive and auto body and engineering and construction and machining and all of these things that the manufacturers in town were more than happy to invest in, and that our fund invested in here in, our Columbus Area Future Fund put some money into that too. And working together with the schools, then the bond passed. Plus we have this enormous STEM wing, and it was like, you take this information back and you build those relationships to be something that is going to be successful for everyone. You can all see how you're going to mutually benefit together. So it's not just, hey, school teachers, we want to take 15 minutes out of your day, and then we're going to come back and take another hour to do a facilitated conversation later. And sorry, I know you got standards you've got to meet and time is limited. I've heard all the excuses, and I understand. I'm very sympathetic to all of that. But at the same time, there's mutual benefit if we can work together as a community, and the schools can see that through the relationships that you build with them. If you take some time to get to know the school administrators and how you can work together and what your end goal is, and how can I help you meet your goals as well. So let's kind of pivot from here. Let's brainstorm about the assets that we do have in our community, and think about, I'm just going to have you kind of popcorn out, that you open up your mic if you would like to say something, and we'll just have a group share about what businesses or what organizations or what city officials in your area might be able to benefit by knowing this youth survey data?
I would say definitely anybody in the healthcare field, because it seems like there's a big disconnect with they want to do that, but they don't believe those jobs are available in their community.
Excellent. Who else? What else? Who else would want to know about this? Who else should be at the table?
Definitely government officials for their planning, for their recruiting, for what, just be more specific on what they need to offer.
Very good. Very good. I think it's really important for us to take that survey data that we've heard and the things that our youth are saying. It's really easy for us to think about, what did we want as kids? What did we think about when we were kids? What did our parents tell us? And put all that aside, because that's not what they're asking for anymore. My job was to get out of town. My job was to move on and go do big, great things and not come back. And that's not where we're headed anymore. And that's not where our kids want to head anymore. So how can we as recruiters, or how can we as builders of our community, recognize that and be able to meet those questions? How do I stay here? How do I get involved? How do I become a part of that community? So I'm just going to throw that out there one more time. Who else needs to know this data?
Ideally, our donors.
Exactly. Mhm.
Angie Colsey, I think you were muted when you tried to speak there.
Okay, well, there she goes.
There we go, Angie.
Okay, well, I was thinking like farmers and HVAC people and plumbers and electricians. So these kids know that they're going to need people, as they retire, and give these kids a chance to maybe experience working with them and seeing what it is. I think one HVAC guy has mentored a child, or a young child, through school, and has actually helped with his education, and then he'll come back and work with him. And I think that's brilliant. That's what we need to do to help get these kids to know we need them here.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Yes, I'm looking at some of the comments. I see parents and the students themselves. How many of us have ever approached a young person in our community and said, I want you to come back home. I want you to go get your education and come back home. Yay, I love seeing hands go up. It is so important for us to invite our young people back, and not just extend that invitation, but get them a mentor, get them a connection in the community, get them somebody who will help them. And job shadows are great. I know they take a lot of work. It's really tedious to have somebody sit with you for an hour. And what am I going to talk to them about? Well, you know what, if you think about it a little bit ahead of time, you can script it out. What do I do for my job? I do a little bit of planning. I do a little bit of communication. I do a little bit of inspiring, and how do I list those things out and park a young person next to me in a chair and say, what do you like to do? Well, here's how I apply that to my work. Here's what I do in my job and how I can make that look similar to what you're trying to do. So I think it's really, it's interesting that we're scared to do job shadows. It's scary to have someone spend some time with us when we're looking, how do we make that connection? I feel like as we age, especially, it's even more and more difficult to make that connection, but they're not thinking that. So it looks like the Vandewalls are trying to make a comment. So I would like to invite you to say something if you'd like. Or is it Will and X? We had someone who was trying to make a comment and you were muted, so I just want to throw it out there that you're welcome to jump in and say. No? Okay. And then, so let's ask the next question then. Do we have those relationships? If we're supposed to be building relationships with our government officials, with our businesses, with other organizations, how many of those relationships are already in place? Anybody want to make some comments there?
This is Beth from Bertrand. I think a lot of those relationships are there. We just don't go to that next step to do a better job of communicating with them and sharing, and then asking, also giving them the opportunity to reply or share their ideas. We need to keep the streets open, going both ways.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of that. And it's easy. We get busy. We know everyone else is busy, but to invite someone to coffee or to invite someone to just sit down and have a conversation is an hour. And wouldn't it be great if we talked together and planned together about the things that we're mutually going to benefit from, and how can we work together? Thank you, Bev. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to talk about the relationships that they may or may not have in place yet?
I heard some people mention government. I am on the city council, and we don't have anybody from the public hardly that shows up at city council. So I'm saying, all of you people out there listening, you need to start showing up at the government board meetings. Our school board, our administrator at our school has shut down the board meetings there. Now that situation is different from city council. I mean, we welcome public attendance. The school board, if you're attending from the public, you have a few minutes to comment at the beginning of the meeting, and then you're done. And then the rest of it is like you're similar to sitting in on a private family corporation meeting. Yeah, you can sit here, but you're not welcome to comment. And we don't need your comments. So there's a lot of, and people, I mean, just as a whole, people don't show up to boards. So if you want to mention government, then be the first one there, next one there to show up. I have not, I was appointed a couple of years ago to my position, was reelected last November, and I think I've had 2 people telephone me about their opinion on issues. So we don't have any examples. This is how you participate in the community. And maybe just to drop back to the previous discussion question, I think in Mr. Yost's TED Talk, he talked about receiving a suitcase for a graduation present. I'm a generation older than he is. I'm same age bracket as his parents. And that was what I received for a graduation present. My older brother did the same, and it was the attitude of, you got to get out of here in order to accomplish something. And I think that we are still, to a certain extent, I don't live in that. Well, I don't live in the community that I grew up in. We're still promoting that idea more than what we would realize, that, hey, you got to leave home in order to accomplish something. And I guess I would agree with, we have many manufacturers here who need skilled labor, the plumbers and all of, electricians, we can't even get electricians to respond to a request for a repair at, residential here because they're so backed up. So anyway, that's the end of my rant, I guess.
Thank you, Neil. I think it's really important to bring it up though, because we do, and I see in the chat comments, that it's hard to get people to show up to those community meetings, whether it's the chamber or whether it's your city council or whatever. That's something we need to focus on as a group, as a group in our community. How do we connect? How do we make those connections and get people invested enough that they feel like they want to show up? Bev, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to share and make sure everyone was aware of the, I think Lee has a really good model to follow for youth. They have a extremely active youth committee. And one of their requirements is to participate. They choose between 4 public entities and they're required to attend a meeting once a quarter.
Agreed.
I think that's awesome.
Agreed. Yeah, it's really, and they get to choose, it's like, well, what's of interest to you? And then you get to choose, you make the arrangements to go visit and you sit in on that meeting. And they've gotten so much volunteerism with the fire department. The kids are now getting involved as volunteers because they got to make that connection. Let's kind of pivot from there then. How can we connect with the youth in our communities? What do we do to really engage those youth so that they are aware of what our fund is, they are aware of what their role is in our community, that they do have a voice? What are some of the things we could do?
One thing that I think Deschler did really well was that they got the hometown intern and then they put on the dream switch. And then throughout that, there had usually been 1 or 2 students that was asked to be a student representative on the community fund. But now, like this year, there's like 4 or 5 students at every single meeting. So I think the hometown intern is kind of like a bridge where you have high school students like me, for example. I was the intern. I know the kids that are in high school now. So they know me and they know I'm involved in it. So they're like, oh, okay, so that's not just for people that like are retired or something like that. Like maybe it is something that I can be involved in. I think bridging the gap between generations is a great place to start when making that connection.
Thank you, Paige. I agree. I think that's someone relatable, someone approachable that young people can feel like they can talk to is really important. How else can we get our youth engaged?
I also think, Kara, the Lee example was brought up. What also is amazing, when those kids come, there is a time where they turn to them and say, like, they're not just there to watch, right? They actually engage them in the community. They ask their response on topics on the agenda and give them space to bring topics to the FAC. So it's not just come and watch us do our thing and wait us to assign something to you, but it's actually engaging them, which is amazing.
Thank you. Who else has a thought?
I just wanted to share real quickly as a 4-H leader that we let our club members decide and plan, which for a lot of adults, it's painful because it takes a lot more time. And I say this with all honesty, most parents are like, that's the worst meeting when they elect. But letting the letting the 4-H club members, which are a wide variety of ages, have a vote, have a voice of what they want to do, is what helps make our 4-H club different from others, but yet very successful, because they, it is their ideas, it is their decision of what to do. And I know that that doesn't always translate to government. But if we just have kids, well, we just want you as free labor, then they sniff that out really, really fast. And when we talk about doing a community service project and defining that this is for them, not for us, it's amazing what some of the things are that our club members have come up with. But it's a different mindset of being patient, and things that maybe I don't think are as impactful are very impactful for students because of different relationships that they already have. But anyway, just encouragement for patience.
I'll agree with you, Denise. I think it is so interesting that you bring that up, because it is hard. It's hard for us to not step in and say, I'm going to direct you, but instead to mentor and to nurture and to respect a young person's willingness to try, and give them that space that they need so that they can learn and take those steps towards bringing to reality what they want, rather than let me show you how to do this. Let me get you free labor out of you. Here's what we need. Here's, no, we should probably have a plan that we can help nurture them and listen to them. I keep seeing in the chat, let's listen rather than telling them. So I appreciate that a great deal. Who else wants to talk about how we could engage youth? How could we get them active in some fashion, either with your community or your FAC, or with some business, or with some cause? Anybody want to explore that some more?
Well, I hate to be talky, but we are in our 3rd year of our youth inspired philanthropy that was modeled after another areas. And it has just been fantastic to see these kids. We have an application period for a month, and then they bring their ideas how to improve Keith County, and we give them $1,000 to fund their project, but they have to have a budget, and they have to have a goal, and they have to have a timeline. And we have 2 wonderful mentors that were retired teachers. And it's been so amazing to see how some of these kids who were really shy and just didn't think their opinion mattered, how they have just blossomed. And so that's been really a fun thing for the Keith County Foundation Fund.
That's great. Isn't it interesting what kids will do when the chains are off and you give them a key and they can just go do what they want? It's so inspiring, some of the things that they come up with on their own that we would never have thought of. So thank you for sharing that, Angela. I'm going to add another question out there, and this one's more about connecting students to the careers that they want. How can we do that? What needs to happen so that students can see that the job that they want probably exists in their community? How do we help facilitate that? I think someone mentioned earlier job fairs. If you can have a career fair for students where they get a chance to see different opportunities, meet different people that are in different jobs. What about manufacturing day tours? It didn't have to be manufacturing day, it can be any kind of business. If they do a career day tour where they actually get to see what goes on inside those walls, they drive by it every day, what's really going on in there. Or what if we bring someone to their classroom and give them a chance to show and tell. Here's what I do. Here's who I am. Here's how we got started. I think there's nothing cooler than to see an entrepreneur who's successful get really passionate about the work that they do and the difference that they made. We love to show and demonstrate what we have. So give me some more ideas. What else could we do to connect kids to the careers that are in their place?
I think today they need to better understand how they can work remotely with some of these jobs, because that's going to be a growing area. And there's some very good jobs that people can do right from, well, like here in Bertrand. So any way that we can show or them involved with companies that they can understand how that remote access would work, I think would be great.
Fabulous.
Deschler was mentioned earlier, Ranke irrigation, and I do know that they have staff people who do training in welding at the local schools, high schools, and also colleges. And I think maybe on a local basis, people might, in their business, think about that, to use an opportunity to see what's they're going on, to pave the way for the pipeline future jobs that they're going to need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what Ranke's doing.
Excellent.
I think another opportunity that we would have as FAC members is, and if we've completed the youth surveys, is to go through and review and then try and match up the interest of the student with someone in the community. It may not be an exact match, but something similar, and reach out to the business to share with them that there's someone interested, and would they please consider a job study time frame, or even just meeting with an individual, taking the time to meet with them and expand upon what they actually do and what all is involved in the position, the trade, whatever it might be.
Perfect. Thank you, Bev. That's very, very true. I think it's really a missed opportunity if we're not showing kids, yeah, this is your career interest. Maybe we don't have exactly what you want in our community, but we have something pretty close. I mean, that's what happened to my son. He wanted to be a software engineer, and he thought that he was going to go to Denver or Dallas or somewhere, not in Nebraska. But once he got an internship where he could do IT work and write some programming for a local business, he ended up taking a full-time job. And it took him a couple of years. It took him the mindset of, hey, this is working for me and this is all I need. And if I go, I'm a little more self-aware now. If I go to Dallas, what a pivot that's going to be for me from a personal standpoint. And so I think it was really important for him to just have that experience and that connection, that it's not the exact job that he was looking for, but it's good enough. And he's okay. He's loving life and doing well. So anybody else want to throw anything out there? Janie?
Yeah, I do. So there's already been so many good examples lifted up today about, interns' involvement in this. But to this question directly, I just wanted to highlight a couple of other examples of things I've seen interns do. So like one is in Brown County several years ago, they had youth survey data that suggested the same thing that we're hearing, which is there's no jobs available for us, so we aren't going to be here. And the interns were like, that's actually not true. There's lots and lots of jobs available here. So they did like video tours of the community and kind of spotlighted different businesses and shared on social media and had like 20,000 views or something like that. The engagement was really unexpected and exciting for them. So, even just the awareness. And then the other example I was going to lift at in Neely, they've kind of done some similar things like partnering to do, local business spotlights and stuff. But the other example is in McCook several years ago, their intern had a particular interest in storytelling and kind of media production, and she did a Make It Happen Here series, which she like spotlighted some locally owned businesses and did like 5-minute short form documentaries that were well produced and just super awesome to hear from local entrepreneurs and small business owners about what they've made happen in their hometown of McCook. So just a couple more ideas of ways interns could engage in everything we're talking about and make those connections to the jobs that are locally available in their place that people don't think about. So I'm complete.
Thank you, Janie. Well, it looks like we're kind of coming up on the end here. Is that what you're going to tell me, Anders? Or
Yes. Well, two things. One, I know I'll just add a quick piece of research that I know of is that students make decisions on where they want to live and careers they want to pursue earlier and earlier in life. So don't think this is a conversation that only has to happen with high school students. Look for those opportunities with junior high and even elementary students to build that knowledge of what opportunities are there in your communities by either talking to your guidance counselors, teachers, or directly to the students to ask them where they get that information. So that was one piece I wanted to offer, Kara. The other, if I could share with everyone, our next Lunch and Learn is going to be in February. We're the third Wednesday of every month. If you want to put that on your calendar from January through October. The next one will be on February 15th at noon Central Time again. Our topic will be welcoming and belonging. If you would like to register for it now, I will show you where to go. This here, if you can see Nebraska Community Foundation's website, that's nebcomfound.org. Come up here to this events tab, and you will find registration links for all of our upcoming Lunch and Learns. I'll also put this link in the chat if you'd like to do that today or share with someone in the future.
Excellent. Well, I want to say a big thank you to Colby Gardine and Paige Hansen for their participation and examples today. Appreciate that so much. Very well done. And I would love to thank all of you too for your input and dialogue, and stay warm on this snowy day. So thank you for joining us. And I'm available anytime if you want to connect or ask questions or just talk about it some more. Have a wonderful day.